Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching the Political Vigilante, rising up the truth. Somewhere beneath Wayne Manor in the outskirts of Gotham City, it comes, the truth. So today is Monday, November 7th. Tomorrow, the 8th, is the big midterm elections in America. And I'm an advocate for voting. I firmly believe voting is... there's too much emphasis because of like, you got to vote. And people think voting is like, that's it. That's their biggest contribution to America. I believe you should still vote, even though it's tough. I believe you should still vote because local ballot measures affect your daily life way more than the federal government does. And I believe personally in voting third party or independent candidates because I think both of these parties are utterly corrupt. Ooh, wow. Slip of the tongue. Corrupt. And look, there's a lot of legit criticism about the Republican. Both parties are awful. And I've said this, the Republican Party has very overt fascists in it. Like and I'm going to show you overtly fascist. But the Democratic Party, as if you've ever read Chris Hedges' Death of the Liberal Class, and he talks about, Chris Hedges is a wonderful historian in addition to being a great journalist and author, is he understands historically what happens. How do these fascist groups and fascist politicians always rise up? How does all this national, it always comes up when there's economic turmoil that usually was created by a handful of greedy capitalists that took all the money for themselves. And then when countries and citizens are poor, they're looking for answers and people to blame. And that's when the fascists come in and say, oh, it's that group. And this has happened not just in the 20s and 30s in Europe, which is a great example. It's happened throughout history. This just keeps happening. So, the GOP is bullish on a House tape where GOP's investigative plans on Hunter Biden and others pick up steam. Now, this was sent to me by a friend of mine who watches the show and we're good friends. We've known each other a long time. We don't always agree on stuff. And this is... I'm okay with investigating Hunter Biden, quite honestly, because I think all these rich kids need to be investigated. I think Hunter Biden is a creep. He slept with his dead brother's wife. Like, well, all of them, all the Trump kids, the Obama kids, the Bush kids. Investigate all. I don't trust rich kids. I don't trust rich kids. I don't trust them. You went to private schools. You learned how to be a sociopath creep. That's what those rich kid schools are. Those private schools, they're sociopath breeding grounds to teach you how to just be cutthroat and squeeze every nickel out of everybody. So if the GOP wins, they're going to investigate Hunter Biden. Okay, this is the problem with our two-party system. The Democrats are in power. They want to investigate Trump. Now, there's a lot to investigate Trump at January 6th, and I think it's naive. I got to say this point. And this is subtlety and this is nuance, which is completely lost in America, especially on indie left YouTube. It doesn't exist. So I apologize for giving you multiple sides of an issue to think about rather than just screaming one thing and chasing clicks. If you want me to scream and yell about one thing, and then I'll talk about the climate and how that's going to kill us all if we don't fix it. But otherwise, this isn't the show for you. So this is one of the problems. So if the Democrats, they want to investigate only Trump. It's like when the Democrats wanted to impeach Trump. I was like, that's a horrible idea. We would have had President Mike Pence, who's a psychopath, and he's an evangelical, and they're nuts. They're nuts. They're just the Taliban in suits and without beards. I mean, that's all they are. They're nuts. But this is the problem: it's again this two-party system. So we're going to impeach Trump. Well, the reasons they wanted to impeach Trump, they could first of all, they could have impeached him on the emollients clause, but they can't do that. If they really go after Trump, then they really would have to go after the Clintons, everybody, Biden. So this is like, we're just going to investigate Hunter Biden, which there's plenty to investigate. Hunter Biden is an awful, corrupt, rich kid, but the Republicans are never going to investigate Trump's awful children. They'll just investigate a Democrat's awful children. So, no, I don't know that I want to see the Republicans take over because they're Here's the thing the Republicans do. When they get an inch of power, they jam through every awful bill. The Democrats get power and they go, oh, we don't know what to do. It's hard. Congress is hard. But we should be aware of how awful some of these people are.
Mr. Chairman, I seek
Listen to this shit.
I seek recognition.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Florida seek recognition?
I move to strike the last word.
Gentleman is recognized.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I
Matt
heard
Gaetz.
Mr. Johnson say that school
Now,
board
he's a
meetings
weasel.
are places where MAGA Republicans
Awful.
come to congregate. And, you know, it might be what you call them, but we actually just call them parents when they show up to congregate at school board meetings. And it's quite possible that what's happened at those school board meetings has created a new generation of MAGA Republicans, of which I certainly associate, but it doesn't demonstrate any harm to our country. I also heard Mr. Johnson
Well, hold on
say
there.
that
Yeah, you guys are all harm to our country. You're the most egregious harm to our country. The Democrats are also a harm to our country. This guy's such a weasel. I know I don't go after the Republicans as much on this show because it's very much a foregone conclusion on this show how awful the Republicans are. I'm very mad at the Democrats for allowing candy ass, rich kid, right-wing shitheads like this from getting power. And this, I want to make this really clear. And Chris Hedges makes this clear in numerous books. If we had the Democratic Party of FDR that passed law after law after law for the working class Americans, these people would have Marjorie Taylor Greene wouldn't come. She would be some nutbag on public access TV. They wouldn't get close. But when the Democrats do nothing, they don't bring any policies, they let this happen. They let this happen. Imagine, if you will, if Joe Biden, when he got elected, said, we get Medicare for all, which he could have done because we were in, and still are technically, a national emergency. COVID was a national emergency. When that happens, the president has broad powers. He could have said, everybody gets free health care. No one's going to get charged. The average COVID to hospitalization in America was $75,000. And even if you have insurance, you're going to get stuck with a big bill. Joe Biden could have said, that's gone. 85% of all college loans are federally backed. Joe Biden, as president, could just wipe those out. You don't need to, people say, oh, you got to go to Congress to get approval for spending. It's not spending. It's forgiving loans. He could have just said, no more student debt. Oh, and all this trillions of dollars in stimulus money, we're actually going to give it to the American people to pay your rent. Anyone back due on rent, provide evidence, pay off your rent. Nobody owes rent anymore. Then the landlords would be made whole with the banks. So the banks eventually would have got their money, but they didn't do that. Had the Democrats just done those three things, had Biden done that, this election would be a joke. It would be like the Democrats are going to crush these Republicans. They're going to crush them. There's no chance. That's why FDR was elected 3 times. They had to vote in term limits because he was so popular. He gave everyone a job after the Depression. People don't understand. Read your history books. I read history books on this show. Most of these other indie YouTubers don't. They just say things to chase clicks. They don't do it. And the corporate media certainly doesn't read history books. I don't even think they have the internet. They can't even Google stuff. The Depression was awful. And there's been intergenerational trauma as the result of the Depression. People had to sell their kids. I mean, it was horrible. I mean, it was just abject poverty. 30 million people just living on the streets. It was awful. It was unbelievable. It was like nuts, man. And FDR came in and said, and he came up with the New Deal. He put everybody to work, building the infrastructure of America. So many roads and highways and buildings. He also, the WPA, the Works Project Administration. I toured this country as a performer. And anytime I go into an old theater, I go, oh, this is a WPA theater. When you see an old theater that was built in the 20s or 30s, it is usually beautiful and it has ornate stuff in it. One of the things that FDR did, he hired artists to do like artwork and tapestries. These theaters are amazing. The show that I directed, the First Nations Comedy Experience at the San Bernardino Valley College, that's an old theater that was built. That's a WPA theater. It's amazing. So my point here is if Biden were to have come in and just done sweeping to make people's lives better, instead he's like, oh, I'm going to bring down gas 30 cents. What have the Democrats done? My life is not better. My grocery bills are through the roof. Thankfully, I have an electric car, so I don't have to worry about $6 gas. I don't have to worry about a diesel shortage. But the diesel shortage will affect all of us because, oh, guess what? Guess who uses diesel? Truckers delivering our goods. And we're about to have a national rail strike. Oh, wow. There's a perfect storm of empty shelves. But when you're a corrupt capitalist party like the Democrats and the Republicans, you don't get anything done. So what happens is then and the Republican Party has moved so far to the right, they're become a neo-fascist organization with this shithead. And the Democrats have followed them. I'm not excusing any of the awful behavior of these right-wingers in the Democratic. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a sociopath. She's a QAnon wingnut. She's so dumb. But Americans have been so, and not just the red staters, college-educated liberals who don't have a problem when the Democrats drop bombs, when the Democrats spend more money on war. We've already sent the democratically controlled Congress and democratically controlled Senate and democratically controlled White House have sent $120 billion to Ukraine because it's good for the war machine. And if the Republicans take over Congress, they'll still be funding war. Just so we're clear here, I want to show you how fascist they are. Joe Biden is probably to the right of Reagan. The Reagan Republican Party is gone. It is gone. The Democrats have followed them to the right. And then you've got sellout, soulless opportunists like Tulsi Gabbard, who's now stumping for like some anti-abortion person. She's the worst. God, she's the worst. Anyone that was a big proponent of her that hasn't come forward and said, I was wrong, ask them. Any of those YouTubers that were big Tulsi people, ask them, when are you going to do a video saying how wrong you were about Tulsi Gabbard? I called her a sellout back in 2020 when she endorsed Joe Biden. I was like, I'm done with this chick. So anybody that hasn't done that, ask them. Ask them, when are you going to come out and say, man, I was wrong about Tulsi Gabbard? This video is not advocating for the Democratic Party. I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying the Republicans are evil. And the reason they're gaining steam is because the Democrats have done nothing other than say, don't vote for them. You have to offer the people more. When I look in my bank account and I see there's less money in there because food costs have gone up, right? When the average American is spending more money in gas, that's even in the countries in the states that don't have $6 a gallon, it's where it's $3.50 or $4. That's still up from $2 or whatever it was in those states. So everybody's gas is higher than it was. You offer the people nothing. You offer the people nothing. And when a progressive does run, like Bernie, or even when Dennis Kucinich ran, Mike Gravel, they're crushed by the Democratic Party. So this is what you get, Democrats. Full-on fascists. But the Democratic Party likes fascism too. Don't forget, it was Obama who signed the the authorization, AUMF, right? Obama sent federal troops to target Occupy Wall Street. Obama built cages that those kids were put in. Now all the liberals were mad when Trump was putting kids in cages as well. They should be. That's horrible. But Obama started that. Biden is putting kids in cages right now. They changed the name to facilities, and that's okay. So the right-wing psycho cult members that follow these clowns, liberals like to think they're better than them, but the liberals that just turn their other cheek, they're just in denial about all the awful stuff the Democratic Party does, and they won't hold the Democratic Party accountable. So then the Democrats are emboldened to pass no policies because they know liberals are going to vote for them no matter what. Do you see how this happens? So you get psycho crazy shit like this. This YouTuber, I don't know, some YouTube jackass, anti-LGBT activist begs followers to bail out Pelosi attacker to prove that he's gay. So there's some crazy YouTuber doing this, but it was retweeted by, let me show you by what's his name. Oh God, I got to get this up here. Hold on. Yeah. So this crazy guy, Charlie Kirk, he wants to post bail for the Pelosi attacker. He's claiming that the guy that attacked Pelosi is gay and he's having a gay affair with Pelosi's husband. Oh God, the QAnon shit is so nuts. I can't even follow it. It's so crazy. But then Jason Campbell retweeted this. And somebody should go bail this guy out. So a guy attacks Pelosi's husband with a hammer and they want to bail him out. Now, the guy with the hammer is obviously crazy. I mean, when I first heard about it, I was like, wow, that's one way to stop insider trading. The Pelosi's are very corrupt. They're very corrupt. Do they deserve to have somebody break into the house with a hammer? No. Should that guy get bailed out? No, he should be prosecuted. But so Jason Campbell voted for that stuff. So I'm just showing you how crazy, the Republicans are. How crazy they are. But so, you know, I don't advocate not voting. Not voting supports the two-party system. They want you to not vote. They want you to not vote. So just remember that. So I would say vote. Me personally, I vote third party. I can't vote for either one of these. But if you're in the state with one of these psycho Republicans running, I mean, well, one thing's for certain. If the Republicans are in charge, there will be zero climate policy. When the Democrats are in charge, I told you this, like the Republicans are in charge, we're all going to die from climate collapse by the year, 2045. The Democrats are in charge, we'll die by the year 2050. But there's this point of view. This was on Status Quo's this was on Status Quo's Twitter page, and I want to show you this interview. Status Quo, I give them credit. They do a lot of they're just on the ground reporting. They do on the ground reporting. So let me show you this. This is just what a young person said. So this is from Status Quo, did a on the street interview.
Like he's a politician. I mean, like they're means to an end, I kind of think. If he flip-flops, and I think get rid of him. But like I at this point don't want Oz to be in office, and I kind of see voting for Fetterman as the short-term preventing that. So
like kind of looking at things a little bit more broadly, obviously do we think that, say the Democrats do get in and pick up an extra Senate seat, which is honestly a 50-50 coin flip at this point at best, right? Do we think that they're going to actually go ahead and do something on some of these issues they're talking about? Abortion's a big one where, they're like, yeah, just get us through the midterms and then we'll do something about this. In reality, I'm not convinced that they're going to pick up more seats. I mean,
I don't think they're going to do anything even if they do. I mean, like, it's the whole like strategy of the strategy of the Democratic Party right now is to like boost the far right as a means of like comparing himself against them. So in order to basically keep the left out. Of course, they're not going to do anything with it. You do kind of need to like vote for them in the elections, because otherwise, I mean, you're going to get the stick instead of the carrot. You know what I mean? But like, I think that the entire Democratic Party has to be destroyed and then rebuilt from the ground up. I don't really see any other way of like actually affecting change in this country. I mean, like,
wow. I mean, that's pretty bold. What that, and again, that's the thing I like. That's somebody probably in their 20s, maybe early 30s at the most. But he brings up a great point. This is, and young people are realizing this is the Democratic Party's strategy. They actually boost the right-wing craziness. Like, look how crazy the right wing is. So you have to vote for us. So then they're off the hook for actually passing any policy. But I agree with them. The Democratic Party needs to just because the Democratic Party does not want progressives to take its party over. AOC and the squad get elected. AOC was like critical of the Democratic Party for about 14 months. And then boom, mama bear. Now she's just useless. The squad is useless. The Progressive Caucus, 100-member caucus in Congress, they could hold the Democrats' feet to the fire. They could be like, no more Wall Street bailouts, no more war spending. We want Medicare for all, or we're going to vote against everything. 100 people could say, nope, you don't have a majority anymore, Democratic Party. Again, this is what the Tea Party did. Some of the Tea Party's tactics, I didn't like, spitting at people or whatever. I don't like that. Their strategy was dead on, and this is what progressives should do, but they're too afraid to do it. Progressives are weak in the Democratic Party. They're just talk dummy. They're good at tweeting. They do nothing. What the Tea Party did, they didn't yell at Democrats. They told Republicans, you better vote what we want to vote, or we're going to start our own party. And the Republican Party, they didn't yell at Democrats. They yelled at Republicans. The Tea Party yelled at Republicans. And the Republican Party knew that if the Tea Party leaves, we don't have enough. We're done. So they had to, John Boehner quit. If progressives really just said no, but they always fold for this. Oh, the Republicans are so awful. They're so fascist. Well, the Democrats do fascism. They put a rainbow flag on it. The people in the Middle East, when they were bombed by Obama, I'm sure they were like, thank God we're getting bombed by the first black president. This is so great. I was so glad that Obama let Wall Street take my house rather than letting Bush let Wall Street take my house. I felt so great. I felt like the diversity of the ruling class's foot on my neck was so wonderful. So if you really want to stop fascism, you need actual lefties, and a liberal is not a lefty. A liberal is not a lefty. It's not. I'll show you what I mean by that. Let's watch this real quick.
There are many whites who are trying to solve the problem, but you never see them going under the label of liberals. That white person that you see calling himself a liberal is the most dangerous thing in the entire Western Hemisphere. He's the most deceitful. He's like a fox, and a fox is always more dangerous in the forest than the wolf. You can see the wolf coming. You know what he's up to, but the fox will fool you. He comes at you with his mouth shaped in such a way that even though you see his teeth, you think he's smiling. You take him for a friend.
The real left, progressive left, the anti-war, pro-labor socialist left has no place in the Democratic Party. And every time we try to do something with it, we get crushed, or the people acquiesce. Bernie ultimately acquiesced. The squad acquiesced. So, yeah, Republicans are awful, and the Democrats won't stop them, because the only way to really stop them, the Democratic Party would have to bail on its corporate donors, which it won't do. It won't do. So, as the late, great Mayor Daley of Chicago said, vote early and vote often, folks. Follow the money connected dots, get the truth, and shave your knuckles for justice. Boom. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. We are still in our 9th month of demonetization from YouTube. So support what we're doing at patreon.com/Graham Elwood or rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. It's free to sign up, and there's a premium level at $10 a month. And for that, you get everybody on the platform's premium content. Myself, Lee Camp, Ron Placone, Jimmy Dore, Whitney Webb, Kim Iverson, Abby Martin, and many, many others. You can also support what we're doing at Venmo at Graham-Elwood, and go to GrahamElwood.com. We have a PayPal button and a PO box. I also have crypto wallets, which are all in the show notes. Thanks for supporting what we do.